God bless. I want to give honor to God, who is the head over my life. I'm going in Proverbs chapter 31, verses 10 through 20. And this is called A Wife of Noble Character. But I want to also explain why this is a wife of noble character and why I'm going to say Mary and Doris were women of noble character. Okay. So let me go on to read it. A wife of noble character who can find, she is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good and not harm all the days of her life. She selects wool and not flax, and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ship bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servant. She is considered a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. Okay. So these noble women, they had a lot of tasks. Okay. They weren't just the type of woman just to sit around the house and cook and clean. They weren't domestic women. And this is the second time that I'm going about on this topic. And another thing is I want to go on self-centeredness. Okay. Sometimes we can be self-centered on ourselves. Some women can be self-centered, okay? But let me just say this. Whenever you enter into a marriage, it's between two people, okay? And if you have a wife that's self-centered and it's all about, well, you gonna do this and you gonna do that, and I shouldn't have to do anything, or that's self-centeredness. Okay. Another thing is self-centeredness is beauty. Okay. Because beauty fades. Okay. So be very careful of how are you using your self-centeredness. Okay. Because it's not cute. Okay. In everything that you do, make sure that you're presenting yourself as a glory to the Lord. Um, you know, not looking for validation through people, but through the glory of the Lord. See, these women, they prayed, okay, because they had that close relationship with the Lord, okay. And this is how they prayed. They interceded for their husbands and they prayed, okay. They prayed their way through everything. You know how people pray, how people, glorify having money or glorified being rich or glorified, saying things are gifts, okay? But these particular women, they glorified the Lord. They got up each and every morning. They glorified the Lord. They prayed, they interceded, and it wasn't just any old prayer, okay? You know, the type of prayer that they prayed about um the gifts they had. They prayed about what God had blessed them with. They prayed about their marriages. They prayed about their families. They prayed, okay? And they just didn't just prayed. They cried out to the Lord, okay? How many of you know your prayer cannot get heard if you don't mourn to the Lord? Yeah. You got to give him thanks. You got to say, thank you, Lord, for what you've done. Thank you for another day. Thank you that I have food, that I have shelter. Thank you for all of these things. And sometimes you're going to have to cry out. Yeah. Like that's your first love. Because only what you do for Christ is going to last. Try going out into the world and doing the things that the world does and see how long it'll last. But only what you do for Christ will last. Mm-mm. See, some people got too much self-centeredness. And the Lord is saying, I didn't bring a virtuous woman to be self-centered. I didn't bring a virtuous woman to look down on people. Yeah. A virtuous woman is a light to her husband. A virtuous woman prays and intercedes. And a virtuous woman have different tasks. Virtuous women don't sit around no house. Okay? They do not sit around no house. They have different tasks. Whether it's feeding the homeless, whether it's helping other people out, whether it's working jobs, her tasks are many. Her tasks are many. Okay? She doesn't worry about physical appearance, okay? She's mentioning this. Her attractiveness comes entirely from her character. It doesn't come from her facial structure. It comes Her attractiveness comes for how humble she is. Her attractiveness comes from how kind she is. Her attractiveness comes from her praying. Her attractiveness comes on the way that she treats people. This is what a noble wife is. Okay. She's not trying to be seen. She's only trying to be seen by the Lord. Okay. Because all her work is done from the Lord. Okay. Um, a lot of females, and I'm gonna just address the stuff that people won't address. A lot of self-centeredness are in some of these marriages that are not going to last. Yeah. A lot of self-centeredness are in some of these marriages. Some people, you get into these marriages and you think, oh, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm just going to sit around the house and I'm going to go ahead and let him pay all the bills and stuff like that. No, baby. The Lord said, I made a wife as a helper for her husband. He didn't say go over and beyond for your husband. He said, I made a wife for a man as a helper. I didn't just tell her just to sit in the house and do nothing all day. Okay? And what I mean by that is you're supposed to be comforting your husband. You're supposed to be his best friend. Yeah. To death do you part. Okay? But you're also supposed to give your husband sound advice. If the advice that he's telling you is not right, you give him sound advice so he can, think about it on his own. If, that is the right thing that he should do, then you should, as a woman, give him the right advice, okay? Don't give him the wrong advice. Give him the right advice, okay? This is what you call a noble woman, okay? Because when her husband puts his trust in her, she always comes through, okay? So this is what you call a woman of noble character, okay? Because it shouldn't be 50-30 in a marriage, but it should be a togetherness, understanding. Of course, everyone has their quarreling, everybody have their bickering, but at the end of the day, when you can go beyond that and you let God into your heart and God into your marriage, then these are the things that make stronger marriage. But like I said before, there are a lot of marriages that are dealing with wives that are self-centered. And when you begin to work with your husband, okay, then this is how you make things whole. And sometimes as women, we got to know when we doing things wrong. Sometimes our mouth can be a little twisted sometimes, and I can say that for me sometimes, but then I have to go back and look, read a verse in the Bible, and God got, the Lord have to chastise me and be like, you need to go back to your husband and tell him you were wrong. Okay, but like I said, in order to be a wife of noble character, you have to understand his view as well as your view. And this is how you build a stronger marriage. Like I said, everything ain't going to be up and down all the time. But once you work through your agreements and disagreements, this is what makes a wife of noble character, okay? Because sometimes as men, they need help too, and stuff like that. You got to pray for them and intercede with them and stuff like that, and give them understanding, and work as a noble character, as a virtuous woman, and build your husband up so that he can do the things that are pleasing in the sight of the Lord. So my subject is the wife of noble character. Okay, God bless.